Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to 90s to Now. I am Jerry Strauss. And folks, when you talk about a personality that is diverse and beloved and established in so many different arenas, I think we've hit the epitome of that this time out on the show because we have with us a guest who is known for so many things. I legitimately need to read them all for you. She is an actress, a Hallmark star, a philanthropist, a producer, a writer, a blogger, an entrepreneur, and she was cool enough to wear a 90s themed shirt. She's rocking Janet Jackson here today. Nikki DeLoach is here. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? Yeah,
Um,
I had to bring the Janet Jackson out.
That's awesome. I was just literally watching a YouTube video of a recent Janet Jackson concert, and obviously the theme of the show, 90s to now. Janet Jackson, the epitome of 90s to now, because I
I
mean
mean,
she's clearly as amazing as she ever was, and so are you. So much to talk about
ah,
from then to now and everything in between. So exciting times. What's going on in your life, Nikki?
what's going on? Let's see. I'm on deadline for a Christmas movie that I'm writing with my writing partner. So we have to get that turned in this week. Putting together, we've got some really great pickups for movies that we pitched. And so that's really exciting. We got those pickups the last few weeks. So we've been working on getting in the full treatments for those movies. This is to Hallmark, of course. And
Mhm.
then outside of that, I head back up to Vancouver towards the end of the summer to do another Curious Cater. And then, between now and then, like being a mom to two incredible boys, lots of energy. They're 10 and 6 now. And then also, I have another job that I do with Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, where I
Mhm.
work. I'm the president of the Foundation Board of Trustees. So lots to do there every single day for kids.
And we're going to talk about all that, and every one of those roles that you have sounds like a full-time job to me. So it's insane that you
They are.
even have 5 minutes to join us. We're so glad that you are. I want to back up real quick
Aw.
just to give you an idea because the world of Hallmark movies and just the content that we see on Hallmark has grown so exponentially over the years.
Hmm.
Um, you're talking about a Christmas movie. Now, just to give people an idea of the fast-paced timeline of these things, am I correct in assuming this is a Christmas movie that will surface this year, as we are speaking right now in April?
Great question. This actually is a Christmas movie that will be shot for this year for next year. However, I just finished Curious Caterer, the fourth movie in this movie series, and it aired last Friday.
Hmm.
And we shot it, let's see, I'm thinking we ended production 6 weeks prior to the air date. So 3 weeks pre-production, 3 weeks filming, not even 6 weeks. I would say maybe like five, maybe 5 weeks of post and everything leading up to that air date. So the turnaround really is so fast. I think the fastest turnaround I've ever done for Hallmark was the very first movie I did for them. We wrapped on like December 3rd, and it was the last movie to air that Christmas
Oh my
on
goodness.
December 23rd. So they did 20 days of post-production. So that's why I'm thinking this last Curious Cater was actually more like only like a month or but a month of post-production, and then we had like a week in between and then it aired. Yeah, they turn these around really quickly. It's a lot of work. They work so hard. They work so hard.
A lot of pressure. It feels like for everyone involved from the beginning to the end, production, editing,
Oh,
music,
huge.
and
Yeah,
you.
huge.
I mean, because you have voluntarily stepped into these roles of not just being a star, a performer, but also, all these roles that you have writing and being involved behind the camera. I mean, that's like that's voluntarily accepting a whole lot of extra stress into your life, isn't it?
My My husband is always like, "What are you? Why?" He's like, "Really? Do you really need one more thing to put on your plate?" You know what it is? I love the creative process. I've started in this business. I knew what I wanted to do by the time I was like 3 or 4 years old, and I left home at 12, and I've never lived back at home, and I've been doing this, I think I did my first commercial or print work and stuff at 7, and then commercials, and then little like kids movies, and then Mickey Mouse Club at 12, and I just love it. I love making movies. I love making television. I love every part of the process. It wakes me up in the morning, and I think as I did each step, becoming an actor, I would peek behind the camera and be like, well, what are those people doing over there? Oh, those are the producers. Well, what's their job? Oh, this is their job. Well, I think I might want to do that. So then I went down that road of learning how to produce. And then, oh, these are the writers. Okay, well, I learned very quickly being a non-writing creative producer that I have very limited control. I'm constantly at the mercy of a writer to create content for me to produce. So then I went and learned how to become a writer. I went and got a writing teacher, sat on a couch for years, learning how the process, the structure, how to put together a good script. And then I started writing. And so with each new kind of job I took on, I kind of got curious about a different job, followed that. And I have to say, I love them all. The one that I think is really the hardest is being, a producer, because I look at like a lot of our executives, right? And the people that produce a lot of the movies that we do, they're the last to get thanked, even if they get thanked at all. They don't get the glory. Sometimes they're the last to be paid, depending on the type of structure the movie, is. And there's just not a lot of glory there for how hard they work. And so I always try to shout them out and call attention to what they do, because they do so much to make something happen. And often the actor gets so much glory, and there's all these unsung heroes behind the scenes that are really doing so much heavy lifting, including the writers, and especially a director on set, who I think is really got the hardest job when it comes to actually making the project. So I don't know. I can't believe that I wanted to do this at 4 years old, and I can't believe that I'm getting paid to still do it. It's actually a miracle. I'm so lucky.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is it feels like that instinct was kind of ahead of its time, because now we've moved into this era where, you hear it again and again and again. If you really want things to happen for your career, you have to make it yourself, or learn how to kind of be part of that DIY process just to bring things
Yeah.
to life. Do you
Yeah.
feel like a lot of your continued success and your opportunities have come specifically because you have that toolbox, you have that skill set?
Yes. Yes, I do. I think that I've learned very early on, like, this industry is a really bad boyfriend. Amy Poehler said it in her book that she wrote. It's a horrible boyfriend. You give your all to it and you get rejected constantly. Nobody really cares about, your feelings and all
Right.
of this. Half the time, whenever you make a self-tape to put it, you may put hours and hours into this self-tape, and it's amazing. It's so good. And it might never even be watched,
Yeah.
because they're trying to find, a really big name actor for the role. So you put all this time into it for a tape that might not even get watched. So it's a really hard industry. The work is so fulfilling.
Mm.
It brings me so much joy, but the business itself it's really frustrating. And I think that I learned very young that, because I've been in this business long enough to know that they don't care how many shows you've been on previously. They don't care what your resume looks like. They don't care. Like, you have to be responsible for putting one foot in front of the other, and to keep it all going. And I think where I may have gotten something right, I've done a lot of I've gotten a lot of things wrong, is because I've been rejected so much. Like, I don't have any ego around it, and I have such humility.
Yeah.
when it comes to like such humility. Okay, they're not going to hire me, so I'm going to pivot and I'm going to learn how to produce and I'm going to learn how to write and I'm going to keep pivoting so that I can keep creating. And it might mean a lot of the times, like, my writing partner Megan and I, there's a lot that we've written that it's not for me to star in. In fact, most of what we've written, I haven't starred in that. And that was very purposeful because I wanted people to see me as a writer and also an actor, but not an actor who only writes for stuff for her to be in. I want to also be able for me and Megan as a writing team to be hired just as writers. That was really important to me. And so to delineate that, to put your ego aside and say, hey, there's some of these projects I would love to be the lead in this, but that might not happen. So, I think it's constantly coming from a place of humility, zero ego, fighting for the things that are really, 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 really important, the things that you have to fight for, and then, just really doing the work and having that long game in mind as you do it.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting that you talk about how in many cases what you've done before doesn't necessarily carry a lot of weight. However, I want to ask you about something because so many of us, I think, first got to know you if we think back to the 90s and we're thinking back to the Mickey Mouse Club. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so interesting to me to look at sort of this list of people that you were with on the show: Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, Christina Aguilera, Kerry Russell, Ryan Gosling. All of you have gone on to do such amazing things and forged your individual paths. And I know this is a very probably an unfair comparison, so bear with me. But I always think of the Beatles in a situation like this, and I think about how all four of those gentlemen, they moved on to do these amazing things in their
Mm.
careers after the Beatles, solo, artistic accomplishments, commercial accomplishments, but they'll always be Beatles, and people will always
Mm.
think of them as Beatles. And I feel like in a small way, that's kind of the sense with you guys. People are always going to bring up this all-star team that nobody knew were going to, branch out as huge as you all have. But now it's almost impossible not to think about you guys back on that TV show. Is that something that you feel and that sort of follows you around, and that you carry with you, your identity, part of being part of that crew?
I don't take it on necessarily as my identity because I'm very careful to do that in an industry where the danger of putting your self-worth in the hands of outside energies. Like
Right.
that's something that I've really had to work a lot on. It's been my work in this industry of, staying grounded is not allowing others to be in charge of my self-worth or not allowing this industry to be in charge of my self-worth, which means it's not my identity. It's what I do. It's not who I am.
Hmm.
But I will say, specifically with the Mickey Mouse Club, I'm so grateful for that opportunity. Not only, and I have to give it up to the casting director Matt Casello. He he just had a vision. He knew what he was looking for. How I got chosen in, 20 something thousand kids in the US and Canada, I still don't know. Like that is still an insane miracle to me that I will always be grateful for. But the stars did align in some kind of really incredible way to bring all of us together. And it was such an amazing job that didn't feel like a job. So many of us were coming from small towns. I know I was. And even though I came from an incredible small town, I have been supported and loved by my community. They've watched everything that I've done and they've cheered me on along the way, and it's been amazing. But it was also a community where nobody around me was really doing anything that I wanted to do. I wanted to, the movies that made me want to do what I wanted to do was Singing in the Rain and Funny Girl and all these musicals. And none of my friends had seen any of these movies. Nobody was having these conversations about, you know, Singing in the Rain. So when I got to Florida, to Orlando, to start in the Mickey Mouse Club, and all of a sudden I was surrounded by all these kids who were just like me. we all like left and joined the circus, and it was the greatest. And our days were full of singing and dancing and acting and laughing and having a blast together. And I will say that especially our ADs, shout out to them, our teachers, the people that surrounded us, Dennis Steinmetz, who was a producer for the show. I just never felt like it was a job. I mean, granted, we worked hard on that last year of the show. We did 6-day weeks. We worked 6-day weeks
Wow.
as children.
Yeah.
And part of the reason why the show moved to Florida so that they could kind of get around those child labor laws. And we worked 6-day weeks. We worked extremely long days, and we put on 3 live shows a week in that last season.
Wow.
Just to give you an idea, SNL puts on 1.
Yeah.
We did 3.
Yeah, that's insane.
And so it's insane the amount of work that we did in a week. And I'm talking not just producers, but writers, directors, and also the cast. That is a ginormous heavy lift that did not feel like one, because we were so steeped in our purpose and having so much fun while doing it. So the show itself was such a gift in that sense. And then to kind of platform off of that, it also gave all of us the ability to kind of extend into whatever we really honed on that show. Like, some people really wanted to go and do music. I really wanted to go to LA and try to continue acting. I really loved it, and I wanted to see where that led me. And so we had all the kind of, I guess, education and schooling that you could possibly want as a child, to then springboard off of that and go continue chasing your dream. So it really gave us so much. When I look back, I can't imagine my life without that job. I wouldn't want to imagine my life without that job. And I would hope that all of us that were a part of the show can look back and be grateful that that gave us our start, and that our start was actually something that was so wonderful.
I think it's funny you bring up Saturday Night Live, because there was a book, I think it may have been called Top of the Rock, and Chris
Yeah.
Rock was interviewed in the book. And I remember a quote that's always stuck with me, where he talks about no matter how mad or frustrated he might ever feel at Lorne Michaels, he will always remember that that was the job that took him from nothing to something. And nothing to something is the biggest leap you could ever make in your career.
It's everything. You know, it's interesting. When I first came to LA, my agents and everyone was saying, well, if you want to be a serious actor, you can't put Mickey Mouse Club on your resume.
Mm.
And I was like, well, what else can I put on my resume? I don't have anything else but like, Mickey Mouse Club and like a few kids' movies and some commercials. Like, what else am I supposed to put on my resume? I was so proud of it and couldn't understand how at that time, you know, if you wanted to be taken seriously, you couldn't be on this like kids variety show. I couldn't understand it at all. And now, you look back and it's this badge of honor. It was always a badge of honor to me, but in the industry, it's seen as this badge of honor that you are part of this class of people that have gone on to do such huge things in the industry. So it's interesting how those tables have turned a little bit, but I've never stopped being grateful. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's funny because you could almost say the same thing about those who've been a veteran of Hallmark movies or Lifetime movies or things like that. Back in the day, there was a stigma. Those stigmas are entirely gone now, right?
I don't know. I mean, I think there's still, if I'm being honest, I think there is still in the industry a little bit of a stigma when it comes to potentially Hallmark or Lifetime. And the thing I will say to that in defense is, I want you to look at the ratings. Go look at the ratings, the cable ratings every single week, especially through the months of September to December, and see who's number one. And unless it's sports, Hallmark is number one every Friday night, sometimes Thursdays nights, Saturday nights, Sunday nights. We are number one.
Mhm.
So you can have whatever opinion you want. The audience speaks for itself in the sense that we are getting the ratings. People are tuning in to watch. And so for me, that's all I really need to know. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I think that the industry is they are paying attention to those ratings, and then there is even talent that didn't wouldn't before, years prior, maybe say yes to a Hallmark movie, that is now saying yes to a Hallmark movie. And also we're elevating our movies. We are telling bigger stories, deeper stories, richer stories, more inclusive stories, more diverse stories. So we've elevated the content. We're number one in the ratings. I'm really proud of what we're doing on our network. So that's what I tell people in defense of whenever they want to stick their nose up, just the industry people at what we're doing at Hallmark. I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah, well, just go take a look at our ratings.
I mean, those people are not among the many, 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 many people who are into what you're doing, but you have many, 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 many people who are into what you're doing. It
So
feels like
many.
that's what counts, right? Yeah,
That is the only thing. That's my point, is that that's the only thing that counts to me. I became an actor because I wanted to make people on the other side of that screen feel the way that movies and TV made me feel when I would watch it as a little child, right?
yeah.
That's why I got into this, is for connection, for telling stories that help to provide compassion and empathy, and maybe a story, of a person that you wouldn't engage in your normal life, or stories that bring us closer, that make you feel like you're not alone. Like that's what storytelling does. It's important. I always say we're not saving lives in the sense of, we're not doctors and nurses and firefighters, and we're not first responders out there I literally saving the lives of people. But what we are doing is really important, and in terms of bringing humanity closer to each other. And I'm proud to be a part of content that touches people's hearts, and that gives them hope, and makes them feel at the end of the day that it's all going to be okay, and makes them feel seen and gives them joy. Like that is something to be really proud of. And so to be able to hear those stories, especially when connecting with our audience, I'll take that any day of the week.
Absolutely. And that's a great segue because you mentioned something earlier. We want to talk about, your in no prioritized order. I think it's your eighth full-time job that you mentioned, but your involvement as president of the Foundation Board of Trustees for Children's Hospital Los Angeles. Now,
Yes.
I wanted to bring this up because I feel like the importance of a children's hospital specifically is something we all understand, but we don't really, really understand it unless we've
Need
had a
it.
situation where we've needed exactly. And, like for me personally, I have a daughter who is diabetic, and I always think back
Oh.
to the day that we found out. And it was a very
Mm.
interesting day because we discovered it at a pediatric appointment, at a checkup. We're sent to a regular hospital emergency room for blood work and,
Mhm. I know where this is
treatment,
going.
and then off to a children's hospital. And
Mhm.
so it's very distinct in me the treatment that we were
Mhm.
able to get, and not no shade on any medical professional in any medical environment that we dealt with. Everyone was just doing their jobs. But that was the day I think that we learned how important it is for a child that there is a children's hospital available, not just to treat them medically, but to make things more easy for them emotionally
Ah,
while they're dealing with it. So, from your
yes.
perspective, I mean, obviously you have experienced that and you are a big part of that, and that's a big focus of your life. But I mean, I guess what other things would you tell people about why it is so valuable to have quality children's hospitals available?
Oh, you this is my favorite question you've asked me. Thank you.
Yeah, you're
Because
welcome.
honestly, while my job is, I'm so lucky to have an incredible job that pays my bills, that I love doing. My work that I get to do in the areas of Children's Hospital Los Angeles and for Alzheimer's and dementia that's my life's work. And it means everything to me. I'm so sorry that you guys had to go through that with your daughter. It is such a scary moment for a parent to find out about any diagnosis
Mhm.
in that moment and then have to be rushed for blood work and then rushed into this situation where you don't know if everything's going to be okay. I know that feeling so deeply. When I was pregnant with my now 6-year-old, I went in to get that 4D ultrasound, and I was so excited because, because I went through it with my first son. I was like, I'm going to get to see all the toes and the nose and the eyes and the eyelashes and all the things. And instead, we were met with, your son has multiple congenital heart defects, and without immediate intervention at birth, he will not survive.
Oh my goodness.
And even if he does survive that first heart surgery, we don't know what we're facing in terms of the rest of his life and how he will be able to manage. And it is just you can't know what that feels like until, like you say, you've been in that situation. Thank God for Children's Hospital Los Angeles and for all the children's hospitals out there. There is a drastic difference between an adult hospital and a children's hospital. And here's the thing that I advocate on the most with parents, because I can't tell you how many parents, just because they don't know, I didn't know, right?
Me neither. Yeah.
They go straight to an adult hospital because it's the hospital that they either go to or know about for themselves. Adult hospitals are not who should be treating children. I'm just going to say it again.
Straight up.
If it's all you have, go there, get the help you can get for your child. But if there is a children's hospital near you, or if you are in a serious situation, I'm talking oncology, heart, diabetes, any of that, you drive, you fly, you do whatever you have to do to get to a children's hospital. Everything is different. Their specialties are different. Most adult hospitals may have a doctor who knows, the world of pediatric oncology a bit, but they don't know rare cancers. And they also most likely don't know how to treat a child
Right.
who is going through it in the way that that child really needs to be treated.
Hmm.
So with that being said, and yes, there's outliers. I don't want to say that this is all adult hospitals. I know that there are outliers and that there are some really good pediatric doctors situated in some adult hospitals in this country. But 99% of the time, you've got to get to a children's hospital with your child. And I'm telling you, difference in the needles that are used, all the way down to the needles that are used that are made for children, as opposed to the needles that they use in an adult hospital that are made for adults, down to that. And I look at children specifically and how they care for not just the child, but the whole family. There are child life specialists that are there to be able to come in, even when your kid's getting blood, distract them with toys and fun games. So they
Yes.
don't even realize that they're getting their blood taken vial after vial, because there's someone there that's engaging with your child and knows exactly what to do, who has been trained and specialized for that. Doctors and nurses who are trained to engage with your child and also help the family become advocates and help the family take care of that child as well. It is a different ballgame. So I say that because as a parent, as a patient parent who has had to become an advocate for my child, that's step one, right? The buck stops with me. And also, I don't care what your doctor says. If your gut as a parent tells you something different, you listen. I think I'm going to go and get a second opinion.
Yeah.
I think I might need you to check that one more time. Or are you sure we don't need to check so and so? I know you said we didn't, but I really feel like we might need to check this.
Mm-hmm.
Follow your instinct every single time. I can't say enough about the work that children's hospitals do in the world, and especially Children's Hospital Los Angeles.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing that you have been able to do so much for this hospital, raising over $5.5 million for their annual gala, with your old buddy Justin Timberlake's help a little bit. Um,
Yeah, a lot of it, a lot of it. I give that all to him. I mean, he was
well,
incredible. You know, I don't like to ask him for things because so many people ask him. I mean, he's asked and bombarded every single day with things, from big things to small things. And, he's been a brother to me, beyond one of my best friends. He's been family, my chosen family, since we were kids.
mm,
And I'm very protective of that relationship. And I, you know, want to be so mindful of what his life looks like every single day. But this specifically, also because of their family's ties to Children's Hospital, Jessica's niece also had surgery at the hospital
mm,
when she was born. So they also had a tie, besides the fact that they are aunties and uncles to Hudson and Bennett, my two kids.
mm,
And so it made sense from that perspective. So when I asked him, I said, listen, this is a really big ask. I'm like, you're in the middle of recording your next album. It's been a minute since you all have been on the stage together, you and your band. It's a big ask. I get that. And he was just like, I'm in. I'm in. Whatever you need, I'm in.
that's
And not
awesome.
only did he, and most people who have gotten up there and performed in the past years, while they've been amazing,
Mm,
they've performed 3 songs or 4 songs. He performed a full set,
mm,
45 minutes, full band, 45 minutes. It was a concert. I've never seen our nurses like that. They were front stage dancing. Like, I've never seen a gala so lit up. What he did for those people, for those doctors and nurses and all the people who donated, every dollar of it going back to the hospital, you know, I will never, it makes me emotional, but I will never, you know, be able to like thank him enough for that.
mm.
And it's also, people don't know that part of him because he's such a private person. He's such a good friend to the people that he loves. And that's the part of him that I like to talk about this, because it's the part of him that, people don't get to see all the time, that I want them to know about.
I feel like this is a great starting point for bigger success in the future. I feel like next year or 2 years down the line, let's start planning now. Let's grow this into somewhat of a Mickey Mouse Club reunion. We're going to bring Justin back. We
Oh,
need to get you
amazing.
right there on stage and see who else answers the call. But just you two together, duets all around, 45 minutes.
You know what? I'm gonna let him take that mic and take the stage, and I'll just be his backup dancer, his hype person in the back.
That'll work.
When
That'll
you get
work.
something like Justin Timberlake, you give him the mic and just let it rip.
All right, Nikki, listen, we've kept you for a long time. We could keep you for hours more to talk about all these other aspects of your amazing life
Aw,
and times. I want to just run through a quick series of lightning questions. These are questions that
great.
have been sent in by various people after we announced that you were coming on the show. So,
Okay. All
just a
right.
sampling here. Let's see what we could bang through here. Which Hallmark actor or actress whom you have not worked with before would you be most thrilled to work with in an upcoming movie?
Kimberly Sestad, Ashley Williams.
All right. Um, this is an interesting one. You've probably heard this before, but never in such an open-ended fashion. Um, Hallmark hunks kiss, marry, kill, which is we're going to clean up this game, but kiss, marry, kill. But we've got no candidates supplied. We need to plug these in. So I look,
Oh my gosh.
I from this conversation, I think I get the sense that you're not the kind of person who's outwardly looking to fantasize about killing any of your former co-stars or a Hallmark
Not at
hunts.
all.
But what
Not
about,
at all.
and of course we know you're married. We're going to wipe that slate clean. We're starting a fresh new
Okay,
life
so
for
in
you
this
right now.
universe, no one's married.
Nobody's married.
Okay, okay,
So is there anyone,
okay.
how about this? Is there any character that you would want to kill out of any that you've encountered in any of your roles?
Um, there's this really great guy. He's actually really wonderful in real life, but he always ends up playing the Hallmark bad guy. I think he's played my ex-husband, like my jerk ex-husband in like two movies. His name is Matt.
Hmm.
So I'm just gonna pinpoint Matt. I'm just gonna go straight for Matt because he actually in my Christmas movie last year plays my ex-husband who's kind of abandoned me and our child.
Hmm.
And so I'm gonna kill him. Sorry, Matt. I love you as a person, but your character, you gotta go. So that was World Record Christmas.
Okay.
Um, and then Kiss. I'm gonna pick someone I haven't kissed yet. How's that?
Okay.
And I'm gonna pick Paul Campbell.
By the way, I will say I think this reflects badly on everyone whom you have kissed already because what you're basically saying is I can do better.
No,
We're
no, not
moving
at
on.
all. Not at all. And for the record, Andrew Walker is a wonderful kisser. Wonderful. He's a great kisser. But I'm just
Good
picking
take.
someone I haven't kissed before, so why
Okay.
not?
Your prerogative.
Um, so I'll pick Paul Campbell, and
Okay.
then for Mary, um, you know what? I actually let me see. I might marry. Gosh, that's hard because I do love a lot of our guys. Um, but the one that I know the best is Andrew. He's my work husband.
Okay.
So Andrew and I have done 7 movies together. And I know him, he knows me, he's my work husband. So I think marry Andrew, kiss Paul, kill Matt.
Okay. That's that's fair. I mean, look, Andrew, I'm sorry you're gonna have a very kissless marriage, but it's it's gonna be filled with love regardless. Couple more quick questions. Has Nikki read any of the Curious Caterer books? Did you
I
immerse
have.
yourself in them?
I
Uh,
have.
is it true there
Yes.
are 17 of them now? There's
Yes.
17?
Diane
Okay.
Mott Davidson, she's the author, and yeah, I think there's like 17 of them.
Yeah.
Maybe even more. No, I think you're right with 17. But yes, I downloaded a lot of them to listen to them on tape. And so I've gotten through, I think I've listened to like at least 4 of them. I'm still going though, because they also generate lots of ideas for new movies, because we want all the movies to at least be pulled from a book, right? So it's really nice to just keep them on and listening, especially when I film. I like to listen to things that are reflective of whatever it is that I'm doing. And so I just listen to the book the whole time that I'm filming so that I'm constantly in Goldie's world and wrapped around her characters and in Diane's world that she's created with for her books it's not called Curious Caterer, but yeah.
Gotcha. Final question, and this is kind of a big one. Favorite
Okay.
Hallmark movie that she has starred in
Oh.
so far? This covers a lot of ground. And of course, we're going to want to know why.
Okay, I can maybe dial it into 3
Okay, that's fair.
for different reasons, because there's been some that the shooting experience was just amazing. I would be like, I had so much fun shooting that. So there's so many of them that I have such beautiful, beautiful experiences with. And some of them, the experience was actually miserable, but and I say that meaning like 5 More Minutes, one of my favorite movies I've done for Hallmark.
Mm.
Um, I did that movie. It's a movie about grief, and I did it 5 weeks after my dad died.
Oh my.
So it was an excruciating movie to film.
Sure.
I spent the first 10 days of that movie coming home from set and sobbing on my hands and knees every single night and not sleeping for like the first 10 days. It was
Mm.
really, really, really hard. But it is one of my favorite movies that I've made for the network because of the subject matter and also because of the impact that it had on our audience. I did a Christmas convention right after that movie aired, and I'll never forget looking out into my line of people and looking at how far back and how big it was and going, whoa,
Mm.
wow, what's going on here? And then as people started to come up, I realized it was the movie.
Yeah.
Everybody had their story of grief, the person they had lost, whether it was a mom or a dad or a grandparent or, a child,
Yeah.
the worst loss of all. And, moving through that line, hearing their stories of their loved one, hearing how the movie helped them to feel like they were not alone in their grief. The Gift of Peace is another movie I did on grief too that did the same for them. Um, it'll forever go down as one of my favorites because of that, even though it was really hard to film. It was really excruciating.
Sure.
Um, I will also say that Taking the Reins will be hands down one of my favorites I've ever done. Taking the Reins was a movie that my writing partner and I developed for the network. We ended up doing the full rewrite for that movie, and also, so I starred in it, but also we were really having a problem finding one of the actors that we had created for this one role, and we just couldn't find that person. But we had modeled the role after my writing partner, who's also an amazing actor.
Mm.
And finally, at the last minute, I said, Megan, will you just throw yourself on tape and let me send it to the network? Like,
Yeah.
just throw yourself on tape and let me send it in. And she's like, Nikki, we're in the middle of this rewrite. We have to have this movie turned in like 3 days. We don't have time for this. And I was like, please, we can't find this actor. It's you. I'm telling you. Send the tape in. They're like, who is this person? We love her. She's perfect. And I'm like, actually, she's the one that's currently rewriting the movie with me. So Megan and
Perfect.
I, who met in acting class all those years ago, became writing partners. We were sitting across from each other on set for a movie that we developed, that we co-wrote the polish, and acting across from each other,
It's amazing.
cameras. It was just so surreal that it will go. And also, it was an incredible movie. It was the number one non-Christmas movie of the entire year in 2021, or
Mm.
in 2021. So it was just an incredible experience, and the movie turned out to be top notch. And then I would say the last one, I'll put in that mix was A Dream of Christmas, which is the first movie that I did with Andrew Walker in
Mm.
2016. And I loved filming that movie creatively. It was such a dream. And I loved working with the director, Gary Yates. And I just thought to this day, that movie it really holds up. It's so well done. And it all begins with the script and having a great script and a great director and great actors that show up, around you. And it's one of my favorites. So those three.
That's awesome. And who knew all this time later you'd get fake married right here on this show. So congratulations to the happy couple. And
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
yeah, thank you guys so much. And thank you all so much for checking this out. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
We'd love to talk to you more about everything. We're going to try to find a way to bring you, we got to bring you back
Hey,
and
there's
talk more.
Christmas. Can I come
Abs-
back for Christmas? Because we'll have no, we'll have another Curious Caterer coming out, and then we'll also have a Christmas movie to talk about. So
yes.
maybe on the back half of the year I come back.
Maybe we can even play a little game. Maybe we
I
can
would love
even
it.
do something fun. We'll cook something up.
Oh, I love
But
it.
absolutely. And look, we've all loved talking to you. Thank you so much for letting us into your insanely busy world. And we can't wait to see everything else you've got coming on as the year goes on. So
Oh,
thank
thank
you.
you so much. I really have enjoyed meeting you and having this conversation. And thank you so much for just shining a light on the work of Children's Hospital Los Angeles and also the movies we get to make at Hallmark. It means a lot.
Likewise, likewise. Thank you guys as well for being here, for watching us, for subscribing, for
Yes.
liking, for sharing. Do all the things to keep our show growing. Till then, till next time, we will see you then. Till then, we will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.